Ready or not, here we come. You can't hide. Welcome. The Sacramento Real Estate Show. Thank you for joining us. We got a jam-packed show for you this month. Today, we're in the first week of October,
Yeah.
celebrating that, getting ready for all the festivities, enjoying some new stats that hit the market, some great information. So if you're a buyer and you're thinking about buying, you're in the right place. If you're a seller and you're thinking about selling, you're in the right place. If you're an investor and you want to get some great deals and find out some information, you're in the right place. Okay. And if you're just an HGTV fan, guess what? Stick around. We got something for you too. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon, Eric. How are you?
Good. How's Movement Mortgage treating you?
It's going good. It's going good. Yeah, we're still helping lots of clients and doing well here in the office in Roseville.
Yes, sir. That's always great news, man. Helping clients is the reason why we do what we do.
Yep.
Celebrating in their wins, that's big, man. That's another. That's what I love about our business. We get to celebrate in their wins. You know what I mean? Get to
Yep.
help get them to the finish line, um, and that's always great to hand off those keys. I love
Oh
that
yeah,
part.
that's a huge milestone for people.
Yeah, man. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Please share, like, comment in the comment sections. If you ever have any questions, feel free to either put it in the comment section or DM, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. We appreciate all of your support. Ben, let's recap what happened last week, man. We kind of talked about down payment assistance programs.
Yep.
We also touched on the buying process and a lot of confusion that some people have that's never been through the process. And I appreciate you clearing up a lot of those things. We also talked about dating the rate right now
Yeah.
and hopefully being able to refinance at another time. So knowing that rates should potentially be coming down because as we know, this is kind of like I don't want to say artificial, but the feds are hiking the rates for a reason, right? They're
Yep.
not doing it because the anything else other than let's be honest. At least my take on it is inflation to bring the inflation down. The economy is roaring right now. Um, it was roaring before the pandemic. So
Yeah.
the pandemic did strip a lot of jobs. Number one, um, hurt a lot of businesses. I mean, have
Oh
you
yeah.
did you ever think in our time that that hotels would close? You know what I mean? That there would be no cruise ships on the water. Uh, Flights were
Yeah.
minimum. Trains, planes, and automobiles. Man, it was all slowing down.
Yeah.
So
Everyone was frozen there for a minute.
yeah, so that sucked a lot of money out of the economy, and then here comes the government,
Yeah.
pumping a lot of it back in. You know what I mean, artificially to help save, and we thought it was, some of us thought it was over, so they start pumping that money back in, get money in people's pockets, giving them time for the economy to recover, and also the country, I mean really the world, because it wasn't just here, it was a world pandemic, which
Yeah.
um and so what happens after that? Supply chains go down, um and the lack of supply leads to what? More demand
Yep.
and higher prices, man. So here we are
Yeah.
right now, uh, in this inflationary time that hopefully we could get under control, man, because nobody wants to be overpaying for an orange or
Yeah.
gas right now. I'm hearing the news about.
Yeah. The gas prices going up. Um. Oh, did we lose you? Yeah, I wanted to talk about one thing as far as the economy goes and kind of why the inflation numbers are so high. They're really compared to some artificially low numbers, like you said, from the last couple of years. Let's see. I think we might have dropped Eric. Yeah, I will touch on the inflation, and we should see rates coming down in the next 6 months or so. So that'll be really good. I'm going to wait for him to pop back on here.
My apologies. I
There he is. We're back. Yeah, as
the,
far as the economy goes, I wanted to touch on that a little bit because you mentioned, you know, rates go up and down. It's a cycle. It's an economic cycle, and so one of the reasons that we're seeing the inflation numbers so high and kind of why it shocked the markets a little bit is because really in 2021 they look at those numbers year over year, and the numbers in 21, like you said, they were artificially low. So one of the reasons rates were so low, mortgage rates at least, is the government was buying mortgage-backed securities. And so they kept doing that after the inflation started to come up. So they really should have stopped doing it sooner than they actually did. So I
mm,
think when we see the November, December numbers come out, that gap in year over year inflation is going to start getting smaller, and that's
okay.
going to cause mortgage rates to come back down. So, my personal prediction is that we're going to be back around under six, around 5% in the next 6 months or so, which is super encouraging because, like you said last week, the people that are scooping up deals right now, they'll be able to refinance those mortgages in the next 12 months to get their payments back down. So it's an interesting time, interesting opportunity.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I know last week, speaking of rates, you talked about how there's programs that can um, actually lower your rate now for to give it some time. Those things that you are predicting, as well
Yeah.
as you're definitely in line with a lot of the economists that I've been hearing as well. That the feds, once they see this, because let's be honest, no one wants a stale economy. We
Yep.
want it to slow down so that people can catch up to these prices, um, and that's the purpose. So can you kind of that program again? You mentioned about not really a teaser rate, but a rate to get you in now, um, and then possibly refinance later.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's the market rate, which right now is high, but there's a way that you can use extra money and seller credits to buy down your interest rate. So you can get a seller credit and use that fee to buy your rate down for the whole 30-year loan, or you can do what's called a temporary buy down, which is, uh, I mean, it changes the game a lot because it gets your payments down a lot the first couple years. So a temporary 2-1 buy down, basically you get that seller credit and then you apply it to your mortgage, and it actually prepays your interest for the first 2 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
if the market rate's at 7% today, the first year on a 2-1 buy down, your rate would be at 5%, which is going to make a drastic improvement on the monthly payment. And then the second year, it would go to 6%. And then if you still had that loan for the remaining 28 years, it would go to that market rate of 7, which you would have had anyway, right?
Right.
So the benefit to that is you get the seller credit, you do the temporary buy down, and then rates should drop within that first year. And so then you can refinance to a lower permanent rate. And the money from the buy down that the seller paid, the money that's not used actually goes towards your refinance to buy down your principal going forward. So a really good strategy. If somebody's out there and they've been pre-approved, and maybe the mortgage lender just said, hey, this is what you're pre-approved for, this is what your payment is, they might not be showing you all the options that are out there. So I just ran an example earlier today on a $500,000 home, and doing that 2-1 buy down strategy, the first year payment was $600 a month cheaper than
Wow.
the market rate payment at that $500,000 price.
That's a
So
huge savings.
it's a huge savings, and really that could, be the decision on whether to buy or not to buy. So I think taking advantage of that temporary buy down is huge, and then refinancing to the lower permanent rate when the rates come down. Because as I said, I know it's a bold statement, but I believe the rates are going to be back around 5 in the next 6 months.
Yeah, man, I'm with you, man. I foresee
Yeah.
that as well. We'll be on the show, definitely rewinding this,
Yeah.
showing
We'll
you
replay it.
our glimpse into our crystal ball, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And
man.
like you
So
said, I mean, nobody wants a stale economy. So the Fed has been hiking their Fed funds rate,
yeah,
which is the
pretty
overnight
aggressively.
rate of which they lend money to businesses, right? And so once those hikes take effect, demand's going to come down a little bit, and then that's when we'll see the interest rates and mortgage rates come back down for the consumer.
Yeah, man. And speaking of demands, our favorite guy, one of my favorite guys, Ryan Lundquist. I actually heard him talk this morning. He has some very
Right.
interesting things to say, and he gave me some stats. So I'm gonna share this data with you. So just as total number of sales in the
Mhm.
Sacramento region from October. This is dating back from October 3rd, 2021 to October 3rd, 2022. So a little over a year ago. Um, so last year we were at 5,317 sales. This year we're at 3,789 sales. So down almost 29%. What's interesting, or what was interesting to me, is that last year the medium sales price was $557,500.
Mhm.
This year it's 5,007 excuse me, $575,000.
Right.
So it's up 3.1%, right? That's the medium, and the average is up 2.6%. So even though we're slowing down in sales, sellers still gained appreciation.
Mhm.
And that just speaks to how important it is to be a homeowner, because, you know, the market is slowing down, which means for sellers, when the demand slows down, appreciation comes down with it, because,
Mhm.
let's face it, one of the other stats he mentioned was how many homes were, the percentage of homes that were being sold over asking price.
Right.
Um, and he had mentioned that uh, I believe it was about, right off the top of my head, I think he said, I think it was somewhere between 21% of the homes are still being 22 between 21 and 30% are being sold over asking price, right?
Right.
So that's down compared to where it was the same time last year. Was actually almost I believe it was almost 50%, somewhere between 50 and 53% of the homes were being sold over asking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It
that,
was, it was kind of artificially crazy, right? Uh,
crazy. So that is the for some sellers it's bad news, but for buyers
mhm.
that's good news, right? Because homes that you couldn't get in last year, you have way more opportunity, and you're not paying. Because let's look at it like this. That was the sticker price, right? So the
Mhm.
sticker price, and people were still paying 10 to 15% over that sticker price. So even if you saw a home at 500,000, good chances were you weren't getting it. You weren't buying it for 500,000. You're probably going to pay what, 550?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the appreciation too, because um, it's not that prices are declining, which that's kind of what some people's perception is when they see the news and things like that. So I always talk about appreciation slowing down, and I use the analogy of a car. So if you're in your car and you're driving on the freeway and you're going 70 miles an hour, you're going forward. Now, if you back your speed down to 60 miles an hour, you're going slower, which is what appreciation is doing. It's going a little bit slower, but you're still moving forward and you're still building that equity over time. And so, another reason why the timing of talking about this is so important is that um, the only recession that was tied to housing was 2008, and we touched on that in the past. That's
Hmm.
because there were bad loans being done.
Yeah.
But all the other recessions going back, the last 70 years, real estate and your mortgage is fixed for 30 years. So it's a very safe place to spend your money. So
Hmm.
typically during a recession, real estate stays even or increases. So even if we're gaining, 3 to 5% per year on a $500,000 house, 5% is 25,000 a year. So you're still paying that fixed payment while the cost of everything else is going up. And so it's a really safe way to invest your money. A lot of people, I mean, unfortunately, right now, when we're looking at our 401k accounts, or if you do any investing on Robinhood or whatever, during a recession, the stock market, man, it's going down.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's what
all
happens
red.
during a recession to stocks because people are spending less money. So I think we'll see that continue. And another reason why real estate is a safer bet as far as the appreciation during a recession. And I did want to bring up another thing too. So I feel like a lot of people in our industry aren't talking about this. The fact that rates are up right now does mean that a house payment is going to be higher than it was last year, right? I think we can
Yes,
all agree on that.
agreed.
But keep in mind, if you're at your job and you've been at your job for a while and you plan on staying at that job, what happens to your rate of pay over time,
It
right?
typically increases.
It typically goes up, right? So we got some employment numbers today, and the hourly wage increase has gone up 5%. Um, that's month over month. And then also the weekly earnings is up 4.1%. So anybody watching, you have to really wrap your head around this concept. Rent historically goes up, right? As things get more expensive, landlords charge more for rent. So when you buy a house, you're locking in that fixed payment. So really over time, in comparison to your income, your payment's going to get cheaper and cheaper, right? While
Hmm.
everything else, cost of goods are going up, that payment is fixed. So we're not talking about buying a house as something that you're going to deal with for the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. This is a long-term investment, right? And a place for you to invest in your future and live at for a long time if you choose to do that. So with wages going up, it's good to lock in your house payment now, because in relation to your income over time, it'll get cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah, and we can talk to that, right? Because
Mhm.
not only is job having an income is a necessity, also somewhere to live. And we know what
Yeah,
the interest rate is on rent, right? It's 100%.
100%.
So
Yeah.
with the guarantee to continue to rise. So um, you're absolutely right, man. It's still the safest, and uh, I consider it the best investment because
Mhm.
we live on real estate, we work on real estate, we play on real estate, and we die when we die, we return to real estate. So
Yeah, that's
everything we
true.
have to do has to deal with real estate, and you have to have somewhere to live. And like we all say, you're gonna be paying someone's mortgage. It might as
Mhm.
well be your own.
Yeah,
So you bring up a
definitely.
great point.
And just out of stability, right? So we found the house, it's in a place we want to live. We know what the payments are, we know what our down payment is. So we've come to terms with that during this process. Um, and and like when you buy a house, man, I can't even think of how many times I've talked to friends or family or whoever it is, clients.
Mhm.
And when you're renting a place, you don't want to really invest in that place and make it your own. You're not going to change out cabinets and put work in and paint and things like that for a landlord's home. When
Right.
that person could call you up and say, "Hey, this is a 60-day notice. We decided we're going to sell this investment property, and now you have to find another place to live and deal with all that." When
Hmm.
you buy a house, man, it's yours. You can
Yeah.
work in the yard, paint it the color you want,
I,
and really set down roots. So I think that's really important too.
Yeah, man, you touched something near and dear to my heart. So I have a confession to make. You can't see it right now, but we put some a screen door and a pantry door in, a new pantry door, and I've been
Nice.
painting it, and I've been painting it for about 2 weeks now.
Those projects seem to drag on sometimes.
Yeah, and it's no fancy colors or anything. It's just white, but it's taken me about 2 weeks to paint the pantry door, man. So
Yeah, but it's
these
nice to make
projects,
those improvements.
man, it feels good, man. I love
Yeah.
my pantry door. I can't wait till I'm finished with it to show it off.
Yeah, we're working on our kitchen right now, and we just had somebody come and measure for some windows,
Oh,
to
okay.
update things, and
Yeah.
the pride of ownership is real, you
Man,
know? It
it's man, it feels so good, and I agree, man. And like I said, I love handing off keys, and especially when you see your clients, they go in, you visit them a year later, and they made some changes, and made it their own. It becomes
Yeah.
their home, not just a house that they bought, but their actual home. Man, I love it, man. I love seeing that. It just, man, I'm passionate about that. Being,
Yeah. Right
because
now
I remember renting. I
my wife
remember
is
when I
getting
was
out the
renting.
fall decorations and,
Oh yeah,
putting
it's
stuff up
fall
in the
all over
yard and
here.
stuff. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fun. The kids love it, and,
yeah, man.
yeah, it's a great feeling to own the dirt that you live on.
Yeah, man. And you want to have assets over liabilities, right? You want that
Yep.
home. Not only it serves a few purposes. Number one, it could be your first. It's your first home, right, to live in. Then it can become your first rental property,
Mhm.
right? And also an asset that you can potentially leave to your family.
Mhm.
Um, so it serves a home can serve a lot of purposes. Um, and so always know, like I say, I understand not everybody's in a position to buy right now, and talk to us and we can help walk you down that path of what home ownership will look like,
Mhm.
and give you some tips on how to get there. But those of you who you make the money, you have the you have the income, you're just uncertain, right? You're dealing with this uncertainty, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things that Ryan touched on too. He said it's right now it's like he used the term the hot pockets. When you put them in the microwave, If you think you got it at the right temperature, you think you got it at the right time, you pull it off, you get to
Yeah.
eating it, it's hot, and then all of a sudden you hit that cold spot right in the middle.
Yeah.
And so you have to stick it back in there, and that's kind of where some people are now, right? They're in the idea that they can't do it. Like, man, prices are too high, interest rates are too high.
Yeah.
I think I want to try to time it right and wait. And I don't want you to bite into that cold center, right? I want you to know where you're at so you can make an informed decision. And that's why it's
Mhm.
important to talk to me and Ben, so that you'll know if it's a right time or not a right time to buy right now, because there is a lot of information out there. And let's
Yeah.
be honest, some people live make a living off fear mongering. You know what I mean? And that's not what we're here to do. And we're also not here to try to sell you on anything. We're here to give you information so that you can make an informed decision. So I
Mhm.
want to be absolutely clear that we're not here to try to sell you anything. We're here to give you information, so that you can make the informed decision. Because, what we do know is that there's a benefit to owning a home. And there's a lot of benefits to home ownership. And we mentioned a few. So, Ben, kind of, I know we touched on it before, but let's calm some fears here and kind of walk them through just a simple process of what you do to get someone down that path.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we're introduced to a new client, I usually do a discovery call, is what I call it. So we can answer a lot of questions and really kind of narrow things down through one phone call, right? So an introductory call with me, it's not a hard pull on the credit, it's not this and it's not that. It's really me trying to understand where you're at now, what your goals are for the future, and then I can answer any questions. So after the discovery call, there's a couple different outcomes to that. You maybe do want to apply after talking about general numbers, maybe digging deeper into some of these benefits. Um, you know, again, not all loan people are providing all the options available. If you go to Wells Fargo, they might just have one loan that they want to do, but there's another assistance program out there that could really help you get your foot in the door that they don't tell you about. So I run through your goals. Um, I tell you about the programs that you might qualify for. If we do determine that it's the right time to buy, we have a quick application that you can do online. We can do it over the phone, we can do it in person or over Zoom. That questionnaire takes about 10 minutes. It's so easy. It just talks about your job history and things like that. Once that's done, it allows me to go in and actually issue you a pre approval. So, this is what the bank can approve you for to buy. Once we figure that out, we have another conversation, which we like to do in person or over Zoom, because the amount of payment that you qualify for doesn't always match what your comfort level is for your budget, right? So we want
Mhm.
to make sure we find a happy medium in those. Once you have that pre approval letter, you can get in the car with Eric and literally go shop for homes. Um, so it's basically like a check for that amount of home that you want to buy, right?
Yes. Yes.
Once you get into contract on a house, we collect pay stubs and things like that, and then send it to an underwriter for it to get approved. There's a number of safeguards in place to protect you during that time period when you already have an offer accepted. You get to do your due diligence on the home, make sure there's no underlying issues, make sure the foundation's good, the roof's good. Um, we do an appraisal to make sure that we believe the house is worth what you're buying it for.
Yeah. To
So
make
like
sure you
Eric
don't
said, we're
overpay.
looking out for you throughout this whole process. And then typically 20 to 30 days later, you get the keys. So the application process itself it's really simple. It's much simpler than a lot of people think. Um, at the beginning of each month, I always call our clients from the previous month and I say, hey, thank you so much. It was great helping you. On a scale of 1 to 10, where did we land? Right? Like, what was the process like? Is there anything we can do better? And a lot of times people just say, man, I was so nervous in the beginning,
Mhm.
not knowing how the process goes, but we really do everything we can. Our number one job is to make the process as easy on you as possible. So we get really good feedback on that.
Man, that's great, man. That is
Yeah.
so, you just spell it out right now.
Yeah. And,
That's,
and real quick, from that discovery call to getting a pre-approval letter,
mhm.
um, I mean, if the application is complete, we try to get that done in about 24 hours.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
great.
So
So,
from the discovery call, if someone actually wants to do the application, they do it online. It comes straight into our system so I can jump in and work on it. And we always want to get a pre-approval letter out within 24 hours. And then we can have the follow-up call and say, okay, we want to make sure the monthly payment matches your budget and this and that. But it's super quick and easy with the technology that we use.
man, that's awesome. And I know,
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of people. They're like, "Hey, man, my credit score is 750. I've been on my job for 20 years. I make this amount of money. How much you think I could qualify for?" I get that
Yep.
question all the time. What would you? And I know that even if you got a great credit score, even
Yeah.
if you've been on your job for a long period of time,
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a really simple formula that you can do yourself to find out generally how much you could qualify for. So what you want to do is you want to take your monthly gross income. So if it's you by yourself or you with a spouse, add up your income of how much you make each month before taxes. You want to divide that by 2 and then subtract your car payment and your credit card payments. And then whatever's left is the budget that you have for a house. And I can tell you price wise what that equates to for a home price.